Daredevil Born Again, Series 1, Episode 8, titled Ice of Joy. And of course, this is the second last episode of Series 1. And this episode is really well put together of the final things that needs to happen. The final pieces setting up the finale. That, Wilson Fisk and Vanessa, who this entire season have been going to couples counseling, are now rectified. They are now the kings and queens of crime. I mean, the moment, I was shocked. I don't know any about you guys, but the moment Annetta shoots Adam, hint saying that her heart belongs to Wilson, belongs to Kingpin. I was shocked. I was like, whoa, because naturally we have never seen Annetta kill someone. Not in the original show, none in the previous 7 episodes. Because Vanessa in the original show was essentially just a girlfriend. While this, they kind of give her more character, give her more meat on the bones. Essentially is. It's literally giving giving Vanessa more meat to work on. And make her more flesh out of a character. All it needed was the events of Hawkeye and Echo to happen to make Vanessa a really fleshed out, interesting character. Because you may say Vanessa's the weak link, right? All we know is Kingpin is in love and is going to do whatever it takes for her, and stuff. So anyway, but this episode, it gives us a sense of how paranoid Matt is. It feels like he's a junkie. The classic, when, someone is on some kind of drug, they're, scratching themselves, they're paranoid, they're treating Matt being Daredevil as a drug. And he's back in his old ways, and his brain is getting all mix and matching, and he's becoming more paranoid than ever before because of the events of him becoming Daredevil. And, Heather, all the things in the world, if you were once a crime-fighting superhero, dating a psychiatrist might not be the best way to go. Just put it out there. Because all the typical reasonings ain't gonna work. where you have gone away most of the night. Where have you been? You have changed. It's you can't just say, well, I was late for work. She can read that shit. But Heather, noticing changes in Matt's personality that she hasn't seen before. Matt is basically being Daredevil without the mask on. And how it is insane how paranoid and how on fences he is. Because the moment he whips and says look, I'm done being a lawyer who has to defend people who steal candy corn, and I have to offend people who whip off teachers, and the moment we do the right thing with White Tiger, he's dead. So what's the point? What's the point of doing this is a belief system that's broken. The system is broken. This is why Matt feels like he needs to be Daredevil again. Which I have to put out there, the interesting thing about belief systems is this, they haven't really dived into the Catholic side of Matt, have they yet? I don't know. If anyone hasn't seen the original show, would they know Matt is Catholic? Would they know? The old the old church music, maybe. Maybe the odd solism, or maybe that one scene where Matt is in the courtroom and they kind of treat the courtroom like at the church. Maybe, I just realized, haven't we dived into... Maybe because, like, look, in the original show, the way they, you know, really heavy on the, or dealt with the Catholic side of Matt Murdock, is having him doing a lot of profession scenes, or him having a scene with a priest, or him... Season 3 was heavy because they introduced, not Mary, but he, Amy? Whatever his mother's name, we got introduced to Matt's mother, who was a nun, and all that, who's a nun, and all that kind of stuff. So naturally, you're thinking, oh, okay, we'll probably get more of that. But no, maybe it's also a way for Matt to, maybe it's a way to Matt to. Maybe they're trying to find ways to, deal with Matt's Catholic guilt without him going to a profession every episode. Maybe they're trying to explore different ways. But it's just interesting. 8 episodes and there's not one episode of Matt heading to a church, or him praying. No, he does pray. He prays once, like episode 5. What? Like episode 6. What the hell am I talking about? He does pray. Anyway, they do dive into it. Anyway, but this, just Matt's on the edge. Matt's on the edge. The moment Heather gets a invitation to the Black and White Bowl, which is hosted by Wilson Fisk, aka the Mayor, and Anessa, Matt's on the edge. I understand it's Kingpin, what do you expect, but it's absolutely interesting how Matt is so on edge. It's so interesting, and knowing that he's probably gonna make a mistake, and he was about to make a mistake, because clearly the whole concept was, there was going to be consequences if you ever came back in your ways, right? And Matt became Daredevil, and the consequences, my guess, was Matt was going to get arrested for attacking the mayor. The end. And get the task force in. And get the task force to attack Matt. Which I will have to put out there, once again, would anyone believe that a blind guy is a vigilante? I know we live in the world in the MCU, but still, this show is so grounded, I start questioning, like, could we? Would they? Would people believe? Just want to put it out there. The violence in this episode is brutal. I mean, Bullseye, this episode gives us the eternal Bullseye. He is brutal as hell. But in this episode, one of the cops puts a guy's hand in a deep fryer that made me go, oh, that's gonna hurt. That's gonna sting. Ugh. So this episode is absolutely brutal in the violent category. But of course, everyone's gonna talk about the final, 5 minutes, or the final 3 minutes of the episode, which is, we find out that Anessa was the one who ordered Bullseye to kill Foggy. Because Kingpin, Wilson Fisk, was away, during the, the events of Hawkeye and Echo. So that's quite interesting that gives us a sense of woe, a sense of patience, gives us a sense of... It kind of also gives us more layers of Vanessa, knowing that what she was capable of doing and now what she is capable of doing now. Because I think for us, we're still used to the Vanessa that she was in the Netflix show. And now we're getting this new Vanessa. And this new Vanessa is willing to do the dirty work. I mean, last week she nearly killed her husband. She was willing to do that. So it's a whole different milestone. It's a whole different sets of triple halfway. It's just, and then Matt gets shot. catching a bullet for Kingpin. Might get a little bit the enemy of my enemy is my friend, or a sense of nothing changed things. Instead of attacking, he's saving him. Anyway. But, of course, everyone's going to talk about the color changing. Like, when the final shot of Matt... Actually, I think there's a symbolic ending. I think that's meant to be symbolic. As in, Matt's dead. Matt Murdock, the lawyer from Hell's Kitchen, all that kind of stuff is gone. But Wise again is the devil of Hell's Kitchen. I think they're trying to go symbolic, as in, like, Bullseye, when Matt getting shot, it turning red. I think it's meant to be a civilization of, meant to hint that Matt Murdock, as we know, is gone, but Daredevil Daredevil is back. He is now Daredevil full on. He has taken on the drug of Daredevil now. But then he goes blue when Bullseye does something Bullseye. It's a whole interesting way of doing it, which is going to be quite interesting to see the reasoning behind it, of the color changing. But yeah, next week I think it's just going to be one big spectacle episode. But I think it's going to be worth it. It's got Punisher will be back. We'll have Punisher and Daredevil teaming up. We'll probably have a showdown between Daredevil and Kingpin. And my guess, this is them saying they're back. They are fully themselves. We see hints and hints and merch and like little hints and areas when they are fully back, but now Daredevil is born again. He is fully himself again, and Kingpin is fully himself again. And it's going to be quite interesting. And once again, I'm curious if Vanessa dies. I think Vanessa dies this next week. So it's going to be interesting of what happens. It could be a sense of... I wouldn't show it. Kingpin might be having a sense of, I don't care what she did. My beloved Vanessa is dead. And he is completely off the loose. And completely out of hatred. And it sucks that some weird... It came out that the Kingpin right is so fucking complicated. Because it's a level of confusion. Because how Kingpin is a Daredevil villain and a Spider-Man villain. But it makes zero sense because, yes, he showed up in Spider-Verse, but he showed up in a Daredevil movie when Disney didn't have the rights. When Marvel didn't have the rights to Daredevil, and you have Michael Clark Duncan. It's a weird confusion. This is one of these weird situations where I have to say, guys, just work something out. Just say, hey, you guys can both use both, maybe, you guys can use him. The end. And that's what I think can happen. But, it's just a little bit weird because it could be kind of cool. If they are hinting Devil Reign, could we have Spider-Man 4 or Spider-Man 5 be the Daredevil Daredevil Spider-Man crossover that most people are kind of itching for? But anyway, comment below, let me know your thoughts of episode 8.